The Athenian sunshine pours down on every corner of the city, but there is no more lively scene than the square of the academy, where Socrates and his students are often found discussing various philosophical questions with great enthusiasm. Despite his ordinary appearance, Socrates' deep eyes and endless wisdom always captivated people. His wife, Shipito, was a famous beauty in the city of Athens, with her red lips, nose, and delicate figure. But she was as famous for her temper as she was for her beauty. Her spirited personality always erupted when least expected. On this day, the discussion in the square was even more intense than usual. Just as Socrates was having a lively debate with some young students, Shipito came in angrily. Without waiting for Socrates to respond, she rebuked him in a loud voice, then turned and went out, not long after bringing a bucket of water and splashing it violently on Socrates. The students looked on in shock, thinking to themselves that Mr. Socrates was going to be very angry with his wife today. But Socrates touched his soaked clothes and said, "Riley, I know that after the thunder comes the rain," and the students laughed. The corners of Shipito's mouth turned up a little, but she turned away proudly. It was Shipito's prowess at home that made Socrates choose to roam the streets of Athens every day debating with people. His unique way of debating, known as Socratic antigrammar, gradually spread, attracting more and more people to participate in the discussion, and ultimately shaping the image of this great philosopher. Every time Shipito's anger, every time Socrates' silence and smile are telling us the real wise man is not only the possessor of knowledge, but also the master of emotions, and life's little fights are often the trials and tribulations that shape great men. One night in Athens, a group of people were sitting around a tavern in the street, and by the light of the lamp, they were talking about the notorious couple of the city, Socrates and his beautiful and hot wife. And to the onlookers, they seemed to be two completely different people, unable to understand why Socrates would choose such a woman as his lifelong companion. Someone couldn't help but ask Socrates curiously, "Why did you marry such a woman?" Socrates smiled and replied, "You know what? Those knights who are really good at horsemanship always pick the strongest horses to ride. This is because they know that once they are able to ride that fiery horse, all the others are out of the question. My wife is like that horse, hard to ride. If I could stand such a woman, I fear that there would be no one else in the world with whom it would be difficult to get along, and it is for this reason that I cherish her all the more. If I can live in harmony with her, I believe there is nothing in the world that I cannot cope with." One day, Socrates' student Xenophon, a handsome young man, was attracted to a beautiful woman. Socrates read his mind and taught him, "Xenophon, whenever you come across a beauty that strikes your fancy, I suggest that you quickly turn and run away." Xenophon looked at him in amazement, and Socrates smiled and said, "You know, there is such a thing as youthful beauty, and its attraction is stronger and harder to resist than the most poisonous spider. It will make you lose yourself and forget your beginnings. So, when you encounter it, it's best to stay away." Throughout the years, Socrates always used his unique way to show people the truth of life, and used his wisdom and humor to teach young people who were eager for knowledge. In the streets of Athens, Socrates always stood out. He was barefoot and wore the long-worn robe and flowing cloak as if he were one of those callers in the city. He wasn't as busy as the others. He liked to chat and philosophize with the drunks on the street, the crafty cobblers, the hawkers, the old ladies who used to spit, and even the flamboyant geishas. For Shipito's father, such as Socrates was a nightmare. One day, he couldn't help but ask his daughter, "He does nothing but juggle. He doesn't even have a pair of shoes. He's like a beggar. Do you live with him just to starve together?" Shipito, beautiful and wise, answered without hesitation, "I chose to follow him because I saw his distinctive wisdom and affection." The pressures of life, however, were always approaching unawares. Their family ran out of oil and flour, and those meager earnings were depleted. Even Shipito, the woman who never complained, finally relented and said with a trembling voice, "Even a slave could not endure such a life. The food couldn't be worse. We don't even have the most basic food, but in these hard times, their trust and love for each other became their most solid support." On that fateful day, the prisons of Athens were calm and heavy. But when the iron gates of the prison slowly opened, a blinding light struck in, accompanied by the firm footsteps of Shipito. She stood as poised as ever, her long, inked hair skillfully secured to the top of her head, looking both regal and dignified. Despite the redness of her eyes, her back remained straight, her eyes still determined. She knew that Socrates liked her best when she was tough and beautiful like this. As she walked to his bedside, she took a deep breath and said in a firm voice, "He is mine." Then she gently stroked his face with deep love in her eyes and a hint of reluctance. She seemed to be able to feel his warm breath and said softly, "I know, I'll be looking for you before long." She faced the sun as divinely as he did and said, "My husband is a great and wise man." In that moment, the silence in the prison was broken, not by grief, but by love, the kind of love that transcends life and death and never dies. Amidst the hustle and bustle of the city, Socrates always found those familiar and sparkling eyes in the crowd. His wife, she was like a lively and somewhat capricious pony, always moving forward, never bound by anything. Whenever he saw her, his eyes were filled with love and pride. In those last moments of his life, he called his son, his tone revealing a hint of sadness. "Son, no matter what happens, be good to your mom. Remember to make peace with her." Then he turned around and gently tidied up his wife's disheveled hair with a gentle glint in his eyes. "You know, I feel especially comforted every time I listen to you, nagging me. Although sometimes your words are so many that they give me a headache, I still like to listen to them. Not to worry, in a short while, we'll be reunited in another world, and at that time, I'll spend all of eternity repaying your love for me." The words, "I know that after the thunder comes the rain," not only relieved his wife's anger, but also made those present laugh and applaud this great wise man from the bottom of their hearts. He always calmed his wife's anger with humor and love, and it became the most beautiful love story between the two. Even though he could not provide his wife with a luxurious material life, he gave her the most precious thing, true love and happiness. Their life, though plain, is full of love and laughter, and this is where their true happiness lies. Words of mutual encouragement. When we pursue our dreams with you, every step is meaningful. When we walk together, no journey is too far, no mountain too high. The adventures we experience together become the most precious memories. In our journey, your encouragement is my strongest support. With you by my side, every difficulty became worthwhile. A true traveling companion doesn't care where we end up, but cherishes the company we share along the way. Your smile is the most beautiful scenery on the road. When you feel tired, let me be your strength. When I am lost, please guide your way. Every stumbling block is an opportunity for us to grow together. The passage of time is not the same as a real departure. In the heart, those special moments never disappear. The real treasure is not the silver and gold, but the time we spend together. Love is a never-ending search that transcends the boundaries of time and space. Time is a human creation, but true love is endless. Every choice in life, no matter how big or small, adds a new chapter to your story. True riches are not about how much you have, but about how much you give. Love, like a journey, is never a straight line. It is full of twists and turns and surprises.